up, guys? We made it back to the shop. So I got some new parts in. Today we're going to do a little bit more cleanup work. I got some minor parts to put on. I got the new triple tree clamp. We're going to replace this. I wasn't expecting to find a new one so soon, so I guess I should have waited. But I mainly wanted to replace this so we would have 2 bolts going in for the ignition, and this would look much cleaner. I also got the replacement bolt for the gas cap, and I got the ignition coil covers for the ignition coil. So now that I've got all that done, that's what we're going to work on today. I've also decided to go a different direction on the rebuild. I'm going to rebuild this back to stock probably, and that's for a couple of reasons. One, I don't want to spend a ton of money on an R3. I just don't want to spend that much money on it because honestly, I'm thinking after I fix it, I'm going to ride it for a little while, enjoy the bike again. But while the bike was gone, I got stuck on the idea of getting a 600. So I'm really kind of leaning more that direction. Okay, one of the first things that we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the stock tail light back on. Because I kind of decided, instead of going with the integrated tail light, save a little bit of money on the build by just reusing the stock one. So I had my beautiful wife clean this up for me. It's not going to be perfect, but I figure there's going to be a lot of cleanup stuff that's going to have to be done after the fact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get these little, whatever the hell you want to call them, little tubes. I forget the technical name for them at the moment. Go ahead and get those in. Start tightening them down. Now there is a little lip on the bottom that I'll need to make sure that it's fastened into before I get it too tight. There we go. Now this would be a lot easier if I had the rest of the fairings already on the bike, but I don't currently. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start the process of getting these tightened down. Make sure these are kind of staying where they're supposed to. Yeah, this probably is not going to stay flush until I get the other fairings on, but for the moment it's at least on. Looks like we're set in there pretty good. It'll get better once I can get the other fairings back on and kind of ring it all together. So the next part is going to be just hooking it back up. Already got the wire fed through, and it just plugs into this this connector. And click. That should be into that, so let's test it. So you want to go back around. Alright. Power on the bike. We have light. Brake light works, so we are still good there. Alright. So the next part is we're going to put on the first new part. And it's going to be over here in my bag of tricks. I have the new triple tree clamp. That's the one part that we're going to do today. And then I've got some miscellaneous stuff. One of the ignition coil covers. There's the other one. And somewhere down in here we have the missing bolt to the gas cap. Get out! There. So, let's go around here and go ahead and get her going. So, nothing spectacular here. I don't know if they got me the right bolt, to be honest. Alright, so that is done. The gas cap is solid. Alright, so on to the next. Next thing we're going to do is the engine ignition coil covers. Now this is kind of a pain because of where it's at. And I remember taking these off the bike I just could not tell you where the hell I put them. Right here's the ignition coil cover, where the cover's got to go. It's going to sit down in there just like that. So we're going to get in there and try to get that taken care of.
Got the right or the left?
You know what? I've already got the covers. Covers are already on there. Scratch that. Just cut. Just turn it. I don't need to put the engine ignition coil covers on. Turns out they have been on the bike the whole time, and I just forgot that I had put them back on. So yeah, I already have them. Moving on, we're going to replace the upper triple tree clamp now, carefully. So the first step is going to be removing the clip-ons. So we've done this before, so I'm not going to make a whole lot of commentary on this particular process since we've been through it. It'll also help if I turn the screw in the correct direction.
That does help.
Nobody asked your opinion, woman.
I didn't ask.
Shush. See how she treats me, guys? She just treats me awful. Okay. So now, this tie. Oh, I remember how bad this sucked last time I had to do it. Turn this up, turn it down. Try to do this without damaging anything. There we go. That is a hell of a bolt. There we go. Loosen that up a little bit. And here it comes. And it's free. Alright. I'm going to take this old, rusted, busted bolt out of our ignition. And we're just going to toss it out. We don't need that one anymore. Because I bought new bolts. Set that off to the side. Also going to take this one out real quick. Because we're going to use that to mount back up our bracket here. Alright, so, sweetie, if you would, hand me the new one. Alright, and there is some Loctite over yonder.
Don't let that kick your ass.
Hush. We're going to Loctite these down so that these will not come off nearly as easy as they normally would. I'm making an absolute mess of this. If you would just hold that right there. Alright. Alright. Now these have a little Loctite on them. I'm going to go ahead and tighten them down. Alright. Now ideally you would use the factory bolts for the security. I'm not going to use those just because convenience, honestly. Because if somebody wants to really get to the bike, they're going to be able to get to it. There's really not a lot you can do about it. I'll mount that back up here in a second. Alright, so
You need those.
in a minute I will.
Alright.
Alright, so now this should start sliding back on here. Being a little difficult. This is new, so it's a little tight. So, yeah, we'll have to. Make sure it's nice and tight and on there. Alright. I think we're good. And I'm sure there's a torque value associated with this, but I don't know it. So I'm just going to tighten it the best I can with this massive wrench and hope for the best. Alright. There we have it. We are finished with that. So now what I'm going to try to do is I've got a little bracket here that kind of holds the wires in place. I'm going to try to put that back on. It's in a really odd spot. I probably should have bolted that up before I put the clamp on. I mean, truth be told. But I'm honestly not that concerned about it. Well, after a few cuss words and a little finesse, that's back on. Would not recommend. Thankfully my wife was here to help, otherwise it would not have gone nearly as well. So the only other thing that I've got for this week is the bolts for the seat are actually the same threading as the ones for the ignition, surprisingly. So I'm going to be replacing those bolts with the new ones as soon as I find that flathead screwdriver that I just had that I lost. Found it. Or technically, she found it. You can see some of the rust coming through on the frame. Not all that worried about it. If I really wanted, I could get some steel wool to it. You still see a lot of the residue from the fire extinguisher, but all that's going to be under the fairings, out of sight, out of mind, so I'm not totally worried about that. But I am thinking about taking the bike over to the dealership after it's finished and having them detail it, kind of clean it up a little bit, make it look at least better than it does now. We got some shiny new stainless steel bolts. And I'll probably end up replacing this seat too, just because it got kind of messed up in the process. This bracket here got bent, so you can see the other one fits pretty flush. That one's sticking up still, so it's not great. But for the time being, it's going to go on here, just because I can, and we're getting it done. Alright, seat's on. I'm not going to keep this seat, I don't think, because it's damaged. I'm going to have to order a new rear seat. And of course, all new fairings are going to have to happen. That'll be sometime in the future. I did order a new headlight assembly to replace the broken one. The bulbs and the headlights themselves are fine. It's just the part where it bolts into the frame. The bolts that bolt up here. You've got 4 bolts. This is for the headlight mounting. These 2 up here, what the screws go into, broke off the initial, or off the back of the headlights, and there's no repairing that. I've got it. Well, I've got one repaired with some JB Weld. I don't know how well it'll hold, and the other one is completely destroyed. So I think for the sake of making sure it's going to work, and I'll have to fix it later on down the road, because I do not want to have to take this bike apart again. I'm just going to order a new housing instead of going with those really expensive projectors. As far as the fairings go, the fairings are going to run me anywhere between $400 and $600. I've been thinking about Wicked fairings, but I also found the exact same fairings from an eBay seller for $200 less. I don't know if there's any difference. For all I know, they could be made in the same factory. I'm going to take the chance at the $400 fairings, see what happens. I don't know when, but eventually that is going to happen. So down here, the rear sets themselves, I got to looking at, they're solid. The only problem I have is the shifter got bent. I don't know if I can fix that or not. I'm probably just going to replace that part. If I can replace that part, that would be awesome. And it's the same over here on the brake side. That may be a little bit more complicated to replace. I don't know yet. The brake side itself, the brake is bent inward. It still works. It's just it's at a weird angle. So I don't know if I'm going to. I don't know if how I'm going to handle that yet. But it's coming along. I looked at clip-ons, and you know, actually now that I look at it, this one's going to have to be replaced. It's bent. I just noticed that. This clip-on is bent, so I'm going to have to get new clip-ons. Damn it. Well, anyway, guys, that's it for this week. That's all I've got for you. I'll be at Moto America on the 16th. If y'all guys are close by, can stop by there. You know, I'll be hanging out with Do It With Dan, so we can talk. You know, shoot the shit, whatever. And until next week, I'll see y'all later.